This is Chill to Know. Today we're taking on a topic you guys are really buzzing about. Mel Robbins, the Let Them Theory,
Yeah, looks like a lot of you are digging into her book.
and, wanting to really get it, like not just skim the surface, but really extract those golden nuggets that you can put into practice, right?
Right.
No overwhelm, just straight up actionable stuff.
Exactly. Powerful stuff, potentially life-changing, but dense. So a deep dive is definitely in order.
And that's what we're here for, to help you guys understand this theory in a way that makes sense for your relationships, gives you a new lens for your personal power, something you can use starting, like, today.
Whether you're coming in totally fresh or you've already dipped your toes in and want to go deeper.
We're going to break it down. Our mission today is to uncover the core of the Let Them theory. And we're going to start with a crucial piece. Let me.
And what I find so interesting is where this whole theory even comes from, the origin story Mel Robbins tells. It's not like some abstract academic idea. It came from a super real, super relatable moment of parental stress. Her son Oakley's high school prom.
Oh, I remember that part.
Yeah, she paints this picture that so many of us can relate to. All the planning, the anxieties that come with these milestones, the corsage, the group dinner, all of that.
Totally. And she talks about being in that moment, watching her kids grow up, and that realization hitting her.
Yeah.
Time just keeps moving no matter what. And then, of course, you've got the classic prom night hiccups, right?
Yeah.
Like the corsage that wasn't quite right, a sudden downpour, trying to figure out dinner for a pack of teenagers.
The usual chaos.
Exactly. And it's in the middle of all that, that relatable mayhem that she has this pivotal realization.
Yeah.
You just can't control other people, like at all.
Nope.
You can't force Oakley's to like what you picked out. You can't stop the rain. And you definitely can't wrangle the dinner plans of a whole crew of high schoolers.
Absolutely. And this prom story, something most of us can totally visualize, it becomes the springboard for this really powerful idea in the Let Them theory. Robbins makes this point that a huge chunk of our daily struggle, the stress we feel, it actually comes from this effort, often unconscious, to control what other people say, what they think, what they do.
It's like we're programmed to do it, right? We want to please everyone, avoid upsetting anyone, get their approval, just keep things smooth.
Right. Smooth sailing.
It's so true. We've all been there, trying to manage expectations, kind of nudge people in a certain direction.
Trying to orchestrate things a little.
And what Robbins highlights is that this prom night, it wasn't just a funny story. It was a turning point for her.
Right.
Like it really showed her how impossible it is to control those external factors, especially when it comes to other people's thoughts and actions. And that's how this very specific experience, this prom night, morphed into the broader principles of the Let Them theory.
And if we zoom out to a more fundamental level, to human psychology, Robbins talks about this hardwired need we all have for control. It's this deep-seated drive to feel like we have some agency over our lives.
Makes sense.
But here's the thing, the twist. When we try to exert that control over things that are by nature uncontrollable, things we can't actually influence, like, say, what someone else thinks or feels,
Right.
we actually end up amplifying our own anxiety and stress. It's like this crazy feedback loop.
So let's unpack this let them concept. Robbins uses this awesome visual, this seesaw. She explains that in any relationship, there's this power dynamic, this constant back and forth. And when we react really strongly to what someone else does, when we take on this huge responsibility for their emotions, what's happening on that seesaw, we're essentially giving our power away to the other person. And as a result, we feel less powerful ourselves, like we're off balance.
Yeah, out of whack.
Yeah.
I love that analogy. What stands out to you about it?
It's so visual, right? Like you can really picture it. And it makes the point so clearly. Okay, let them, in this context, is not about being cold or uncaring. It's not about acting superior. It's about making this conscious choice to step off that side of the seesaw that's trying to control the other person's experience.
Giving them the space to be themselves.
Exactly. Recognizing their individuality. Robbins is clear that it's not about one person having all the power. It's about creating a more balanced dynamic, a space where both people can just be without all that pressure to manage or manipulate each other.
A level playing field. So, big takeaway here. When we overreact, we give our power away.
And this is where it clicked for me. Let them. It's just the first part. The second part, the part that actually helps you reclaim your power, is let me. Robbins uses this really relatable example about finding out that a group of her close friends went on a weekend getaway without her. Ouch.
Classic fear.
Right. And she's honest about that initial reaction most of us would have. Feeling left out, maybe even questioning the friendships, wanting to know why. that natural urge to look outward, to try and understand or even change what happened.
Fix it.
Totally. But then she applies the first part, the let them. She acknowledges that her friends are free to plan their own trips with whoever they want, and that creates a space for a different kind of question.
An inward shift.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the let me part kicking in. And what does she realize? That she hadn't been as proactive in those friendships as she could have been. She hadn't been reaching out, hadn't been nurturing those connections. So it wasn't just about her friends excluding her, it was also about her own actions.
Taking ownership.
And this let me also involves, like, setting healthy boundaries, understanding your own needs, and putting them first. It's about focusing on what you can actually influence. Your own thoughts, feelings, and actions.
So if we think about that desire for quick and thorough understanding, this combined effect of let them and let me, that's where the magic is. By letting go of this need to control others, which is honestly exhausting, we paradoxically gain more control over our own lives.
The less we try to control, the more control we have.
It sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. It creates this feeling of liberation. Suddenly, other people and their actions, they're not the main source of your stress anymore.
And Robbins emphasizes something super important.
Yeah.
Our time and energy, they're precious resources, they're limited. We shouldn't waste them trying to manage the unmanageable.
Absolutely.
And this applies to way more than just, like, tricky relationship dynamics. It's super useful for dealing with those everyday stresses that pop up. Robbins talks about how our body's stress response to external stuff can be automatic, like bam, instant reaction.
Fight or flight.
But she introduces this idea of an on-off switch, using let them as a signal to your brain that, hey, this situation, it's not worth getting all worked up over. It's telling your amygdala to chill out.
Yeah.
And then the let me comes in, and it's literally taking a breath. Such a small action, but so powerful.
It's amazing how much control we have over our physiology. Robbins even brings in Dr. Aditi's research, showing how deep breathing stimulates the vagus nerve, this direct line to your brain, telling it to relax, to calm down.
It's science.
It is.
No.
So by consciously practicing that let me, by taking that breath, you're actively hacking your stress response.
Love it.
And as Robbins keeps emphasizing, the real power comes from shifting that focus, from what's outside our control, like someone else's annoying behavior, to what we can directly influence, our own reaction.
This works wonders in frustrating career situations too. Imagine you're eyeing a promotion, but your boss, let's call him Steve, is a real piece of work. Robbins gets straight to the point. You can't control Steve's decisions. You can let them string you along, and yeah, that's going to be frustrating. But the real power move comes with the let me, taking charge of your own career path.
Update that resume, network, explore other opportunities.
Exactly. What's the takeaway here about feeling empowered in our careers?
It's about recognizing that you're not just a pawn in the game, you have agency. Robbins asks this crucial question: who's really in charge of your career? And the answer is, without a doubt, you. Staying in a job that makes you unhappy, it's not a life sentence, it's a choice, even if it doesn't feel like it. When you focus on the let me, on the actions you can take to improve your situation, that's where the power comes from. You're not powerless, you're empowered.
And then there's this mental hamster wheel we all get on,
Yeah.
right? Overthinking what other people are thinking about us. Robbins tackles this head on. She says, imagine the freedom that comes from just allowing people to have their own thoughts, whatever they may be.
No matter how crazy.
No matter how crazy. And she reminds us of that basic truth. You can't control what goes on in someone else's head. You can't.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
So why try?
Exactly. And her point is, the more you embrace this, let them think what they want mindset, the lighter, the happier you'll be. It's freeing yourself from this impossible task of trying to be a mind reader and an opinion manager.
Such a relief.
Now, it's important to clarify. This isn't about becoming some detached robot. Robbins is big on the importance of your own internal compass, your let me, in this context. Of course, you want to be considerate of other people's feelings, you want to have healthy relationships, but your main focus should be on living and acting in a way that makes sense for you, a way that aligns with your values, that gives you that feeling of integrity.
Living authentically.
Because when your decisions are based on guilt or this constant need for validation from others, that's a recipe for resentment and feeling unfulfilled.
Absolutely. The power is in that alignment between what you think, what you do, and what you truly value. And Robbins puts it so perfectly. When you say let them, you make a decision to let people think negative thoughts about you. When you say let me, you focus on the one person whose opinion truly matters, yours. It's about reclaiming that center, trusting your own judgment.
Okay, let's recap what we've learned in this deep dive into the let them theory. We started with this crucial distinction, what we can control and what we can't. Then we unpack the two key parts, let them, which is about consciously letting go of the need to control other people's thoughts and actions, and let me, which is about taking back control of ourselves, our reactions, and our well-being.
And remember your interest in actionable knowledge. These core principles of the let them theory, they offer immediate practical tools for navigating everyday life. Think about how you could apply this to manage stress, deal with career frustrations, or just release yourself from this pressure to please everyone all the time.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. Think about one area in your life right now where you're pouring energy into trying to control someone else. Their thoughts, their feelings, what they're doing. How might this let them plus let me framework, even in its simplest form, shift your perspective on that situation? Could it help you free up that energy and focus on what truly matters? Your own choices and your own well-being? It's a pretty powerful lens to look through.
It really is. But thanks for joining us for this Let Them Theory deep dive.
And keep those sources and topic suggestions coming. We love exploring with you guys.